Hey all, welcome to Comic Books Beyond. This show is all about demystifying comics and looking at books from a new reader-friendly perspective. You can really start reading comics anywhere, but there's better places to start than others. Hey everyone, welcome to the 1-year special anniversary edition of Comic Books Beyond. Holy crap, I didn't think I would make it a year, and we did. We've had so many changes over this past year. We've had a lot of fun stuff happen, and I'm just glad to be doing this. So today we're going to be talking about All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison and Frank Whitley, which is one of my favorite Superman and just favorite book stories of all time. Before we get into that, we have a little bit of news. So we're not doing anything crazy special for the 1-year anniversary. I wanted to try to get some folks together, but I have been so unbelievably busy with both work, my personal life, and stuff for this show, and stuff for something that I'm hoping we get to announce really, really soon. It's nothing crazy, and don't worry, it's not going to cost you anything. Just something else that I'm involved in that we're hoping by the end of September to announce. So it's been a whole year. The cool thing is I got the old episodes back up. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we had an issue where we had to change our name. It used to be called something else, and that name was taken, and I want to be my own person and not be associated with other things, especially. So we changed our name to Comic Books Beyond, and we changed our theme a teeny tiny bit, but honestly not really. We were always, when I went back and listened to those old episodes, we were talking about new reader friendliness, and we're still doing that, and we're still just trying to get people to read books. That's really all we want. Talk about the personal connections to these stories and how they're great. So that's what it is. Occasionally we have some books that are not for me. And that's going to happen, especially with the random wheel of causality that we do. So anyway, we are going to jump into today's episode. When you're done here, highly encourage you to go back and listen to some of the old episodes, because some of that stuff was really meaningful and personal to me, and honestly, I couldn't redo those episodes. I thought about totally re-recording, because there was only so much I could do to fix the audio that was so bad back then. We used to be recording on my headset I use for work, which is just a USB headset, not even a separate input, just flat out USB microphone all in one headset. And my God, did those episodes sound bad. And then we got 2 episodes with a Brand X microphone, which was a little bit better. It was just not good, so I decided I would invest a little bit of money thanks to a gift card from work. And I found a really good Shure microphone for, I got really lucky with this one, and I like this mic, and, I'm much happier with the sound quality these days. Content, I think we're finally hitting our stride of what I want the show to be. And we constantly have people saying, hey, I wouldn't mind coming on your show for an interview. We've got a few contacts we're chatting with. We might have another interview coming pretty soon. Just got to work out the details on that one. So I definitely would also recommend go back, listen to the Matt McGrath interview, any of our interviews. If there's an episode of the show you think you might like, go ahead. We're pretty spoiler-free. Today we're going to stay as spoiler-free as we can. That's also a thing. We have a YouTube channel now. I was going to try to release them the same day as the podcast, but I think the podcast is going to come out first, and the video is going to come out later. That's the plan. It's mostly going to be just a couple shots of me, and then, some comic stills put in there, and maybe we'll learn to do some cool transitions. I have a couple other things lined up for YouTube that's going to be kind of like comic school and just fun stuff. Maybe we'll do tier lists, or just some fun hanging out stuff. And lastly, if when I got the episodes back up, that gave me re-access to old episode information, and we got 1 or 2 comments, which was great. A person named Miles commented on our Minor Arcana episode, and I honestly don't know if it was the first one or the second one, but I responded to them, And they responded right back to me, and that was cool to see. I hope they're still around, and I am so sorry if you're listening that it took me this long to respond to you. I just, the episode wasn't up. I didn't have access to that portion, and I honestly just got access to Spotify for creators. I don't even have access to the Apple data, unfortunately. I've been trying to get that, but the website is not great to work with because I do not have access to iOS. Like, I don't have an Apple device in any way. I had one iPhone once, and that's how I discovered podcasting, but never had an iPhone otherwise. All right, so let's get into today's episode, because we're here to talk about books and why they're great or why they're not so great, but you know the drill. I already said it. All-Star Superman is one of the best books of all time. Quick reminder, one last thing. Big shout out to friend of the show, Mr. John Klein III of Shadow and Flame with Magik. He recently launched a Patreon. Go check that out if you want to support his show. I've considered doing a Patreon for us at some point. I might look into that next year, but I just honestly don't have an idea for one, and I always want to keep this show ad-free, which John is also dedicated to as well. And, I mean, I'm open to sponsors, like, if Marvel and DC want to come knocking, I'm happy to take up the sponsorships there, but like Brad and Lisa said, we're not doing sponsorships for ShaveMyBalls.com, but, if that ever happens, which I don't think it will, that we'll address it then, but anyway, so book. How about we do some book? So this book was written by Grant Morrison and Frank Whitley. As you guys know, I'm a big Grant Morrison fan. They are one of my favorite creators. I like Frank Whitley as well, or Whitley. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce that. Their art here is pretty good. I remembered not liking this I remember liking it more in the past, but it still is very, very good. I think just the wonder of the first time read didn't get to come through as much here. So, as far as disclaimers go, I don't have anything major, but there are some. There's some heavier themes that are very lightly laid on here. Like, this is technically a whole series about what would you do if you were dying, and we also have a scene that's about suicide. Other than that, I don't have anything major here. So my first impression, this is a retread for me. I read this for the first time, 10 years ago maybe. And I've reread it a few times since, and I did actually get the compact edition. I have the real, actual compact. That rarely ever happens on these. I really, really like this. I was filled with wonder, and one of the things I really liked about this series is how almost every issue is totally standalone, and it builds over time. So I want to give a bit of the concept here. So I do need to spoil the basic concept of this. This is about Lex Luthor tricking Superman, essentially. He puts him in a situation where he's going to die. Superman has to be a hero, but this delays his death, but creates an inevitable version of his death. Essentially, his cells become overloaded with radiation, and he becomes the ultimate power battery, which is just going to burn out. If you've ever owned a cell phone, you know the battery life just dwindles every time you charge it. Now this is a full-on overload. So as far as the characterizations in this story, I really like most of the characters here. I'm really only going to focus on three. We have Superman Clark Kent, we have Lex Luthor, and we have Lois Lane. They're the only real consistent characters throughout most of the story. And this is really a collection of stories that is all part of a bigger story, which is my favorite way to tell comics. You can see the end of the story clearly relating back to the beginning. You can see all parts of the story reinforcing that end of the story. And you can see there's actually like a mini arc in here as well. If I had to give one criticism, even though I really, really enjoyed this arc, I do think that there was a mini arc in there that you could have condensed to like less than 3 issues, but it was still really, really good. As far as this representation of Superman, I think this is truly one of the best I've ever seen. May not be the absolute best. That still may go to For All Seasons. But this book is asking the question, what would Superman do if he only had, say, a year to live? I don't remember if it's ever actually specified. Like, it's kind of wooshy, whatever, he's gonna die, he knows it. And Lex Luthor had it, like, calculated to the minute or something that he would die. Something only Lex Luthor could come up with. So this version of Superman, I love this take on Superman. He's, instead of, all he wants to do is this just reinforces his character. He wants to do the most good he can in his final days. You see him doing things as simple as giving Lois a great birthday present. You see him doing things as big as saving the world from a couple monsters or some Kryptonians. And he solves problems generally with diplomacy over violence. It's really beautiful the way he solves the problems. I'm not going to spoil the end. We're not even going to talk about it. Let's just say the ending was as satisfying to me as the beginning. And this has my favorite Superman panel in it of all time, which is him saving a girl from killing herself and talking her literally off a ledge. As far as Lois Lane goes, I actually think she's a tiny bit underrepresented here. She doesn't have a ton of agency in this story, and sometimes I think Grant Morrison's flaw in their writing is they do have a tendency to underwrite women, and I just think it could be done a little bit better. Like, there's a scene where she's kind of sexualized, and it's not terrible. It doesn't go on forever. It's mostly appropriate to the story. But, like, there's a difference between nudity that's just there and sexualized nudity that's just for us, which, like, you don't even see boob. You just see, like, no one showers, like, trying to look hot for no one but the camera viewer. I guess except in pornography, but, you know, that's not what it's supposed to be. We do get some good scenes with Lois, and, like, when I was younger, I thought Lois was just kind of mean, but that was just me not really understanding the world and not having great communication skills and understanding of, you know, how things worked. And Lois is honestly one of my favorite characters. She's competency defined. She's not cutthroat, but she looks through the lens of being cut. She looks through the lens of being cutthroat at times, but that's often given with a male perspective of women in business or positions of power often tend to made to look worse than males because it's not the stereotypical gender role. Like, I've worked with people who say, you know, it's frustrating working with the women because they're so arrogant and, you know, stuff like that. And I always say, yeah, so are all the dudes we work with. But we don't get any of that, like, characterization here, or at least not to the great degree. It seems like she's more Superman's girlfriend than anything. So that is one other thing I do have to knock about this. But she does have a really good issue where she's at the center of. Lex Luthor in this one, if I had to give a talk about him, he is comically evil in this one. But it's because he believes and he knows he's won. He knows he's right. He doesn't think any of these things. His narcissistic tendencies are on full goddamn display, and it's exactly what you would expect from Lex Luthor. May not be exactly what you would want from Lex Luthor. There's no nuance to his character. He believes he's beaten Superman, and he just doesn't care about anything else. And there is a great line down the road that really talks about the core of the failure of his character. Superman basically sums up his character saying where Lex believes he could be the savior of the planet, and it shouldn't be Superman. More or less what Superman says is some version of, if you wanted to be the savior of this planet, you could be the savior of this planet. You cared about beating me, and that's all you cared about. You didn't direct your energies into making the world a better place. You directed your energies into beating me. And I'm not going to spoil the rest of that for you. One thing I do want to point out, we don't really talk about the movies too much on this show, but I loved the last year's Superman movie. The one thing I didn't like that much, I didn't love Nicholas Holt's portrayal of Lex Luthor. I thought it was fine, and I know he just recently made some acting choices that I wish he didn't, so I'm totally fine with him being recasted. But there's a scene in 2025 Superman, light spoilers here, if you want to know nothing, just check out for a minute. He says the phrase, brain beats brawn. He delivers that line terribly. I utterly hate the way he does it, because that's just not how I would see Lex delivering that line. And this is where that line comes from, to my knowledge. Unless that has been just a reoccurring thing I don't remember. I didn't read a lot of, I haven't really read any Silver Age Superman. I read a good amount of Golden Age, but I just much prefer the representation of this line here. A lot of this is just kind of a ode to the Silver Age, and Superman kind of has a rep for being the most silver of the Silver Age comic books, where you have things like robots and weird sci-fi monsters, in addition to all these silly superpowers where it was like every other week he was getting a new superpower. And you kind of stick to the core powers here, but you get a mishmash of all those ideas, but it's really a good mishmash. It's everything being pulled in that you would want from the Silver Age of Superman. You see the time we spend in the Fortress of Solitude are some of my absolute most favorite moments in the series. Like, you get time in Kansas, you get time in Metropolis, you get time off-world, you get time traveling, and you get time on another universe, or in another world. But the time in the Fortress of Solitude, where he's hanging out with his robots, where he's experimenting, you see his mind is inquisitive. He's just as inquisitive as Batman. He's just as much of an inventor, but he's an inventor in a different kind of way. He's trying to solve problems on grand scales. He's not only just trying to say, what's going to happen? What can I accomplish before I die? He's saying, what can I put in place to continue to make the world a better place after I'm gone? And that's something that I wish I could aspire to. I think if you were to tell me I was going to die, I would just be like, well, I'm going to go to Germany, drink a bunch of beer, then spend some time in Belgium, drink a bunch of beer, and just have a bunch of books with me. I'm going to just be straight with you that would terrify the shit out of me. And I'm sure he's scared in this, but if you were to tell Superman all this, his alone time is time to solve problems. His alone time is time to create gifts for other people. His alone time is time to be self-reflective and talk to his robots that he built and say, here's how you take care of the various animals that we have in this little zoo here. I said before that the Bizarro issues, there's 3 Bizarro issues in here. I thought this could have been condensed a little bit, but then you wouldn't have had a 12-issue series, which is kind of reflective on the 12 feats of Hercules, or whatever that old story was. It's been a long time since I read or did anything Greek mythology was. I think we could have had just 1 or 2 Bizarro issues, and maybe something else in addition to that. Trust me, there's stuff for Superman to do that isn't just punch stuff or any of the stuff we got here, and this book is a survey course of what Superman is. If you wanted to know who Superman was as a character and what his world is like, this is the book I would point someone towards. It's not the most concise story, but it does give the best of his survey course. I didn't really talk about Clark Kent here, because while I like this take on Clark Kent, he's a little too cartoonishly oafish in this compared to Superman. And like I said, Lex is like mustache-twirling evil, where the personalities of this are dialed up, and I think that's done to not only be a Silver Age-inspired thing, but also just to make sure the reader, gets it. The dichotomy of Clark Kent and Superman here, it's so wide that it's almost jarring. You don't have a scene of Clark walking where he doesn't slip, and there's some great scenes with Clark in here. My favorite being he's in a position where he needs to be a superhero to some degree, but he can't reveal his identity, and he has to do the bumbling oaf, oops, I accidentally saved a bunch of people, do that kind of thing. It's why superhero identities exist. It's one of my more favorite scenes in the book, and it comes from a really great issue where you have Lex Luthor diatribing. Like, you can kind of look at the book in different arcs. You have 3 arcs in the center, then I think it's issues 1, 5, and 12 are basically the full... If you only had time to read 3 issues, it would be 1, 5, and 12, which 1 is the setup, 5 is the gospel according to Lex Luthor, and 12 is the resolution of the story. The rest of it is all worth reading, don't get me wrong, and I think you should read it all. But you get Superman as who he is, then you get Superman, you get Lex Luthor of who he is in 5. Then in 12, you get the conflict of Lex Luthor and Superman and exactly how that relationship and dynamic should play out. And I've talked about the Bizarro issues a little bit. Like, I didn't talk about some of the one-off issues. It's not because I didn't like them. It's just because I happen to have a little bit more to say about those specific issues. And just what I could say about the single issues is they're essentially all the same plot at the absolute bare bones. It's Superman's presented a problem. He has to solve that problem. There's a little bit more plot exposition explaining, where this is going. And that's basically it for each one of them, and I'm being incredibly reductive just for spoiler reasons. But the 1, 5, 12 issues in the Bizarro little arc, those are some of my favorite, even though I think the Bizarro could have been toned down a little bit. So I think I've covered almost everything I like and don't like about this book. Overall, I love this book. Now, thematically, I just, want to talk about a couple of the themes I'm seeing here. So this is, I think, largely about 2 things. The nature of fatalism, where we're going, and destiny. And I know we're all gonna, meet the end one day, but it's really about how we spend our time here. And I think I want to spend my time trying to tell stories and talking with you guys. And this is the story that's inspiring in a way where you can be true to yourself and do what and make the world better. And I think the other big theme is kind of what I just touched on. This is about being true to who you are. In this story, we see Lex Luthor sell out his morals, and he doesn't win. And we see Superman be true to himself constantly. Well, it may not have the, in quotes, happy ending, but we see Superman make a world a better place, and I think that's what's important about Superman, and that's why he's one of my favorite characters. So, as far as if this makes me want to read more, yeah, I'm pretty hyped for Superman right now. I don't think All Seasons is out in compact yet, but when it is, I'm definitely going to go grab it. All-Star is the literal only book I have in the oversized Absolute Edition. I read it in the compact and it was just fine. I'm honestly going to go pick up the Absolute Edition when I'm done here, and we're going to talk about a few things, maybe do a little comparison in the YouTube video on this. As far as other reading from this, I would recommend We Three by Frank Quitely and Grant Morrison. It's the same team. It's a bit more of a bummer. I'm not going to lie to you. They also did some issues of Batman and Robin together, which are some of my favorite works together. And I think they were also the team on New X-Men, now that I'm thinking about it. And I've been on an X-Men kick. I've got to blame John Klein and Ira Mose from Bluesky. They've got me reading Krakoa, and I'm going through it, and I'm mostly enjoying it. But there is so much Krakoa to take in. There's no way I'm getting through all of it, right away. So, as far as other Superman, I already said Superman for All Seasons. We talked about Kingdom Come last week, which is largely a Superman story. And the other Superman story I would really want to throw out there is Birthright, which is a bit of an origin story. But it's a really good one from what I remember. I haven't touched on that one in a while. I think that is in compact, and I really hope we get that one soon. But I think... And as far as, new reader friendliness of this story, absolutely. You can pick this up with no prior knowledge of Superman. I think you're going to get it. You're going to understand who these characters are. If you're a longtime Superman fan, you can pick this up and get it. This book isn't perfect. Like, you could have, in theory, done this in a few less issues. You could have had some more impactful issues. But what's there is really, really good. And it's not bogged down by ridiculous layers of continuity. And what continuity is there is referential, and it's survey course level. It's context. It's exactly how I would want to see something like steeped in this. Alright, so Bat Month is coming up. September is Bat Month. I already spun the Wheel of Causality. We're doing all Batman books next month, and we've got a lot of reading to come up with. The first 2 weeks are going to be a lot. So I spun through this earlier today, and we're just going to cover these. So on September 2nd, we'll be doing Hush. On September 9th, we're going to be doing The Long Halloween. On September 16th, we're going to be doing Dark Knight Returns. On September 23rd, we're going to be doing Batman and Son by Grant Morrison. So, same writer here. We're also going to end September 30th with Arkham Asylum by Grant Morrison again. So that's 2 weeks of Morrison in a row. Arkham Asylum was actually pre-picked. That's like a transition into horror month. Because October we're going to be doing really, really, really messed up horror month as like the darkest stories I can find. But yeah, everyone, that's been the 2020, the 1 year anniversary episode. It's unbelievable. I think this will be the 66th episode we've put out. Well, it's time to close the book on today's episode. If you're a comic book creator and you have something for me to review or would like to interview a guest on the show, please send me an email at comicbooksbeyond@gmail.com. This offer is also available to fellow comics journalists. If you're a listener and you want to submit a question, I'd happily read it on the show. Please just let me know if it's okay to read and how you'd like to be credited. If you'd like to get a hold of me otherwise, I'm at Comic Books Beyond on Bluesky, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, but I mostly use Bluesky. I am trying to use Instagram a little bit more, though. If you'd like to show support for the show, please consider leaving a rating, review, or comment. I ask for honest reviews only, and I'm always looking for ways to improve the quality and content of the show. All right, everyone, be good to each other, and stick around for some gratitude and thanks. Comic Books Beyond would like to thank John Burkle and the crew of the Talking Comics podcast, Brandon McNulty, Lisa and Brad from Comic Book Couples Counseling, Alex Jaffe, Jeremy Whitley, Jimmy Gaspero and the crew of Comic Book Yeti, John Clyde III of Shadow and Flames with Magik podcast, David Pepose, and all of our listeners and co-hosts.